Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we discuss the film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls and their corresponding skeletons 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
And I'm glad I'm done with this forever waiting. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher. It's beautiful, Porter.
And I'm Joey Boerner.
Hey,
Joey, welcome.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you here on the show.
I'm thrilled that we've got someone here that appreciates the score.
Oh,
Yes.
One of the best parts of this whole movie.
I have a nice thing to say about the score in this minute. I've been
Yeah.
very lackluster, just non-committal about the score and the music in general in this movie. But I've got something nice to say, and I can't wait to hear what it is in minute 104 of Crystal Skull, which begins with the door, that big weird door, continuing its dramatic and complicated opening, and it ends with the gang standing before a headless alien skeleton in a room full of alien skeletons.
Can I get a flaccid bell? It's aliens.
Oh, that's our flaccid bell.
It's aliens.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
it's technically not, though. They just look like aliens.
They're from the spaces between aliens.
Yeah, this is where we this is the It's Beautiful moment. You open the Ark of the Covenant, and here it is, and it's like, interesting, they don't really have the moment where you pull and you pick up the sand. And it's all, but you have the maniacal, like, laugh, It's like it's all been a big waste. We walk in, it's aliens, and that is the sand for me.
I was going to say, I think this is the sand. I think even in the movie's mind, this might be the sand. Oh, it's a bunch of dead aliens. And then later on, we get some, I don't know, alive aliens or something. And then it's beautiful. Like, I don't know. It might be more of a progression than we think. I don't know.
Oh.
We'll see.
Why does this feel like a letdown? Like I am on board. I'm 100% on board with the idea of aliens in this movie or transdimensional beings. I'm cool with that. But why does this feel like? Is it just because they've shown us and told us about the aliens ad nauseum up to this point in the movie, so it's not really a surprise? Or it doesn't seem like a big revelation when we walk in here.
It is just sort of a big empty room with a bunch of alien skeletons in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this: the room sounds beautiful. Like you hear them walking around, and it sounds like a pantheon or something. Which it sounds fantastic. That's the sound effects of the footsteps and the echo is great. That's beautiful.
And my nice music note, my positive music note is that instead of, I can't believe that they didn't go like full choirs of angels and going full overboard with the sound here and with the music here. Instead, it's very quiet and sort of awed and mysterious, and I appreciate that. It's very low.
Well, Tom, when you sent me this minute, I actually replied. I was only joking when I said it was my favorite minute.
No,
but on review, I kind of thought this is actually a really great minute.
Yeah,
because it's just got music.
Yeah, that's right.
And I love the music.
Yeah, the music's lovely.
Well, I think it was going very much for that 50s sci-fi sound, and it really is in full display here, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels a lot like old Hollywood. Like I feel like he captured something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Tom, I got to ask, did you talk about the door? Did that get discussed yet? Because
we do need to talk more about the door. We started to a little bit.
The door is incredible.
Yeah, go on. What do you need to say about?
Well,
the door?
it's the door. It actually is what's amazing about it to me, and it's in J.W. Rinsler's book, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Pete's referenced it a few times, but he actually talks about that door being. It was. Well, I mean, probably to somebody else, maybe not on this podcast. But
Why talk about it on the show?
Exactly. But it's a practical door that was all built to do all that stuff. And it's just amazing to me that it just,
I do appreciate that, and it looks
I do
like it.
too.
Like I didn't even have
Yeah.
to look that up. I was like, you know what? That's a real door. That's the thing in the set that they're standing in front of and it's doing stuff.
It's very
And
cool.
I think there's even a slat that slightly doesn't quite open right. I love that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's how it should be.
That is really. That's actually kind of stunning. Like it's a big, complicated thing that they built, and these days they don't seem to do so much of that. Even in
digital.
2008, that was like kind of like things that started to be replaced with computer
Well,
stuff.
well, Joey, the scuttlebutt around 6th grade here is that you enjoy this movie.
Explain yourself.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
invite Joey over, and then we'll just put him against the wall.
Hey, we're gonna give him
I
wet
love how
willy.
threatening that sounded, Jerry.
I wasn't sure what to make of that.
Hey, Mr.
I
Crystal
know.
Skull over here.
Yeah.
Look at this guy.
Hey. I'm a lover of Indiana Jones, even at his worst.
There you
And
go.
I-
That's not a
I-
bad way to be.
I mean, I'll save my Crystal Skull experience for later if you like, but I think it comes with age a little bit, where you just say, you know what, there's bigger things in life to worry about than whether or not this movie's any good. And I have to say, I haven't watched it fully from beginning to end in a few years, and it's obviously it's not the Indiana Jones movie you go to when you're feeling like an Indiana Jones movie.
Mhm.
But we watched it Saturday night as a family, and I halfway through, I looked at my wife and I said, there's a lot worse ways to spend a Saturday night. But then they got to the jungle scene, and I
You guys got
Take it
divorced.
Right.
Is
Kids.
it? No.
Pause the movie for a
close your
second.
eyes, kids, close your eyes. Don't look.
Well, I mean, I'm asking in a serious way. What happens here? Not at the very end, like that, minute 105, but up to minute 104, we go through this temple. What are the aliens? We finally get this a true alien reveal from like, oh wow, all this is real. It's not just a rogue alien here or there or a crystal skull. There's a lot more to it. Can you tell us like what was the room about before this? Are the aliens? Are they creating a museum?
I believe. They left over a set from National Treasure, and they said, "Hey, we can use this." That was my feeling walking through that space. Is it just feels very odd. It reminded me a lot of a National Treasure movie.
I'm starting to think
Okay.
I need to see National Treasure. I've never seen any of those.
I honestly, I think I enjoyed National Treasure more than this movie.
I would agree with that.
It's,
That's-
yeah, National Treasure. Yeah.
It was
Well,
fun.
okay.
And it was unexpected, a lot of it.
Okay.
But I
like
see.
unexpected.
I feel like maybe the aliens blew their budget on that door, because I feel like they didn't get their money's worth with the interior design budget in this room.
Well, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week. Joey, who built the door?
Who built
Did
the door?
Did the aliens build that wooden door, or was it the Ooga?
Ooh.
Or was it like I don't know, the precursor to the Ooga?
It seems like it's the Ooga or the precursor. Somebody built it for them. I don't think they built it.
Okay.
Gosh, did the Ooga build it to trap the aliens or something?
Oh no.
Gosh, this is so complicated. Okay, wait. We said this about the temple when they got in there. Like, wait, did Oriana come through here and then he left somehow? And like over the last like hundreds of years, the Ooga have been refilling that whole thing with sand and resetting the whole thing and stuff and shoving the stairs back into the walls and everything. And the same thing goes with this door. Like, if Oriana got far enough to like grab a head off of one of the skeletons, which I guess is what he did.
Okay,
Like,
so
how does that door get reclosed?
This is what that's my main note. Did Oriana decapitate the alien?
I want to see that scene. Just and like
And
which one?
was-
How did he choose which one to do it to? And like,
And he
doesn't
must
that
have been
alien
alive
have
at
a-
the time. Like he
Oh,
was
God,
probably,
really?
he would have been moving around, right? Like he wouldn't have just been sitting, because as soon as they're all headed, they come alive.
yeah.
So
Not
did
really.
Boy,
Dark.
that's weird. Yeah, wait a minute.
yeah, this does
People say
Did
Temple of Doom is
Oriana
dark.
ju-
This is really grim. This is a
Did
grim
he just-
Indiana Jones movie.
he took the one crystal skull back and then it's in his grave?
So he beheaded the guy
yeah.
alive, like, and then took his head with him. It's like the guillotine guy, like taking the basket home.
Did all the
souvenir.
alien skin
Yeah.
just did the head still have like the skin on it, and it just decayed with Oriana like over the years, or did it like magically
But is
sluice
the
away or something?
yeah, is the
or-
crystal skull not really a skull? It's just the way they look. I mean, I,
don't
know
think
we're going to
so.
find
No, that's
out
a good-
later.
yeah,
but,
we are
but,
gonna find
I
out
mean,
later,
have
but
they
yeah.
decayed?
I think maybe they.
Like, do they have skin?
They will later.
Yeah,
They will later. But what is that? So did
in the
Did- so
pictures
did
and like all
Oriana
the
come
wall
across-
paintings and everything, they kind of look sort of skeletal, don't they?
Normal.
Like they look. I mean, they don't look like gray aliens with like with like skin and stuff. They look kind of very diaphanous and kind of skeleton-y, don't they? In those cave paintings and stuff, and the etchings when they first got behind the waterfall and they saw those.
Did Oriana just take this one skull? And is this skull the one that like the neck is craned out?
Yeah.
So if the neck is craned out, was the alien then maybe sort of proffering his head for Oriana?
No, I think
No,
Oriana
I-
did the old like got your nose, and he like bends over to see the nose. And he,
I see Oriana with like both feet on each of the guy's shoulders, just yanking with all of his might, just craning that neck down and yanking that head off. And he had like a bunch of other guys with him, didn't they? Why didn't they each take a skull if it was that easy?
Why did
And
they
they're so
just take
plentiful?
the one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Joey, what did you have for dinner?
Yeah.
Like some rice and some chicken, and where are we going with this?
What's
I
your
mean,
favorite
that's
episode of Different
exactly
Strokes?
Where are we going with this?
the donuts, when he sneaks the donuts and it's a whole drug thing, and
Oh my god, I think I remember that. Wait, there were drugs
yeah.
in the donuts, or like it was a box
no,
of drugs or
it was
something?
it was like an allegory, like he was hiding something.
oh, okay.
There was a powdered donut.
Yeah, he had the powder on his lips. And didn't Nancy Reagan show up at the end?
Oh my god, just say
I
no to
think you're
donuts.
right.
That's why the donut industry
yeah.
went under, because everyone thought they could just say no to donuts.
Oh, there you
You
go.
know, fortunately, we've won the war on drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just had to
clearly,
say no.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But maybe Tom, maybe this is why when you ask that question about why is this room disappointing, it's because it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disappointing that it's what we already kind of expected, yes, but also it's just sort of doesn't, you just kind of go, what is this room?
I would like for this room to have a sense of like just the fact that they're just sitting there. It's an empty room with just them and it's sitting in some sort of chairs. I want that to have some sort of awe to like sort of 2001, like, oh, I don't understand this, but it's suggesting something beyond my understanding. Like, of course, the aliens don't need like a stereo or rugs or anything. They're just sitting in a circle doing what they do. And I wouldn't get that because I'm just a mortal human. But like, I'm not getting any of that.
But this room is very poorly designed. Like, it looks like kids made it out of blocks. Like, it's not a it's not a pretty design. It's, I don't know. I feel like is this their cockpit, or is this, like, I never thought about what you said, Tom, but is this a prison that was built for them by the Uga?
That's
I don't
amazing.
know.
I like that. Or is this it looks like the Pantheon.
Well,
Or it looks
there's
like,
speaking of the Pantheon, there's a frieze along the top of the room with skulls on it, and they're not alien skulls.
No. Are they human skulls?
They look sort of primate. I'm not sure. Like, they could be like, or bear skulls. I'm not sure what they are.
Maybe it's
This
like in
has
Predator when you see alien skulls from other parts of the galaxy. You think that's what it's like, Jerry?
it's like at first I'm like, go blow your nose, and I'm like, no, please don't blow your nose. I don't want to know.
No, I got
what
more to
comes out of it.
say about the alien skulls.
Well,
Here's my treatise.
is this is it
Let's all
there's
get
a
Jerry
Jedi
Well, is it a
This
throne room?
has-
Like, are they ruling?
Yeah, this has
have
a
they
That's what
ruled
it
the
seems
Earth?
like.
it has a Jedi chamber type thing.
It does have that kind of
Yeah.
sense, yeah. But they're not
Right.
doing nothing.
So you're messing with my head, because if your image that you created of that guy losing his head, does that mean the rest of them watched it and then just sat there and died?
Leave him alone.
Or they're all in like, when you see something gruesome and you go into a state of shock.
You just
Yeah.
Like, they might just all be in shock.
Yeah, they all play dead. They all that's when they started to look like skeletons. They're like, let's just be skeletons. They'll leave us alone. That one guy's dumb enough to try to talk to these
I don't want to
conquistadors.
lose my head.
Well, I have another design question. We were talking about the door, and it looks like we were saying last minute that, Indy holds the skull up to the door, and that's what opens the door. And so it seems like the aliens, when they had bodies and heads and everything, they would just like stick their faces on the door, and that would make it open. But okay, so Indy's standing there, and as he's standing against that image of the alien on the door, he comes up to like maybe the alien's chest or something. But then when the door opens up and there's a tunnel there, or a hallway, whatever.
Oh,
Indy
point.
just clears, like it's got like maybe like a foot of clearance or something. So the aliens would have had to like crawl down to go into their own house, which seems really strange to me.
Because Indiana Jones always ducks into temples. Come on, Tom.
Oh, is he like squatting? He's sort of like duck walking in there?
Well, I thought it was interesting the way he pushes the cobwebs like forcefully but I didn't think about the height. The height, that's interesting.
Yeah, that blows my mind about the height.
It's actually the same sort of thing as the we said in Last Crusade when he has to crawl through that little crawl space to get into the chamber with all the grails and the knight and everything. And we said like, oh, it's like a Frank Lloyd Wright, like compression of space, and then you're open in this big open thing after this tight little area. Maybe they taught Frank Lloyd Wright, his deal.
Or since this is their spaceship, it's like when you crawl into the LEM, like you have to crawl into that little hatch in the Apollo rockets. And
yeah.
Or maybe they were short when they got in? No.
Oh, maybe,
grew.
Yeah.
No, because the door was taller.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like you were this tall. Like it's your mom takes your measurements every couple of years.
Yeah.
Until you're this tall, you're not tall enough to ride the spaceship.
That's sad.
Well,
someone's going to get left behind.
We have one line in this entire minute.
It's also
a
a
weird
reason
one,
why
too.
it's a good minute.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
I'll keep my mouth shut. What?
No dialogue.
Oh, okay. Well, that one line is weird because I immediately.
Oh, I love this line.
I don't know if I love the line or not. What is he? He says.
Well, I just like how poetic it is. It's no more forever waiting. I think
no
that's
more
nice...
forever waiting. And maybe it's because I'm working on like grade school materials recently. But it's like wait, is he quoting or misquoting Chief Joseph? I shall fight no more forever. That's like the first thing I think.
Yeah, that is.
When
they're
surrendering.
Looked it up to see if it was a
Piercer,
reference, and that was the only thing that came up was the Nez Pierce thing.
Yeah, I don't get it. It seems. I don't know why he phrases it that way, if not to be quoting something, but he's not quoting anything.
Well, Joey, is this the only coherent line that Ox has?
It feels
apparently it's incoherent. I mean, if you ask my co-hosts, but
it feels like the first moment of clarity for him, right? Or at least one of the first.
Yeah. Well, it seemed all of a sudden it's like, oh, Ox has a raison d'etre. We now know what he that's what he is. He was, interestingly enough, I guess he's supposed to put the head on the neck, but he's had no agency otherwise in the movie. Indy's done everything else.
Right. Is it okay, Indy, if I put the head on the neck? Is that all right?
I don't know what
It's your
happens. I'm
movie.
kind of on pins and neck needles.
Oh, wait, so I have a question. Like when I heard that line, no more forever waiting, I thought he was referring to the alien. He's not waiting for his head anymore.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah,
But
me too.
but the way you guys, the way you
No,
were talking about it, I
he's-
almost thought that he meant that Oxley is no more waiting.
Oh, maybe he
forever,
is.
Fight no more.
Maybe he is.
Wait a minute. So
Like his whole Returno thing has been going on for years and years, and he's been waiting to be able to return the skull, and now he can finally do it.
That's true. Maybe he's
this-
finally free.
this is just like one of those. Speaking of sixth grade, Joey, this is like one of those ghost stories you would tell.
Yeah.
It's like so he's waiting to get his head returned.
Bring me my crystal skull.
Yeah, that's
Maybe all the other aliens were waiting to hear that story.
Oh, maybe. How
They're
does it end?
sitting around the non-existent campfire.
Right. Maybe they had a campfire in there.
It just went out.
hundreds of years ago. Yeah. Gosh.
no more
So-
forever waiting for his head.
I guess so. How
So
would he wait if he doesn't have a head? How do you
So
how do you know the
Oriana
passage of time?
decapitated him.
But if this
Took
is
it up
if this
for-
is a throne room and they're ruling Earth, maybe Oriana was a good maybe he had a reason to decapitate him.
He's like the one human hero in the whole story. He's
Yeah.
the one who
He's,
tried
like,
to
saved
take
the Earth
humanity back for itself.
Yeah, stop
Yeah.
pillaging and looting from all these civilizations
Yeah.
and
then India
blanching
learned the
these
same
That's
beautiful.
my job, says
Yeah,
Oriana, not yours.
blanching the beautiful statues.
Right.
Well, save us, Joey. Let's talk about some music.
Yes.
Well, before we get there, Pete, I actually have to say, have you ever watched any of the like behind the scenes stuff for this movie?
A little bit, yeah.
It's kind of heartbreaking because we know it's bad. And you talked about the design of this room and those little tiles that are all over this room.
Uh-huh.
There's like hundreds of them, and every one of them is handmade,
Oh, boy.
including
Wow.
one with ET and
Oh,
one
really?
with
Wow.
C-3PO and R2-D2 as a little throwback to
there you
Raiders.
go.
And it's really sad because I agree with you. It looks like a third grade art project.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so sad. Because, yeah, wow.
I'm looking right now.
I know. I was doing my homework. I watched one of the behind the scenes, and they were
Wow.
so proud of their work. And it just doesn't work. But it's still cool to know it's there.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that now. That saved a minute.
It's not
I-
their
I-
fault.
But I can help.
I love the shot of Indy coming through the tunnel.
Yeah, that's
I will
classic.
say
That looks
Indy.
like an
It's-
Indiana Jones movie.
It
Yeah.
does, and it's a great and you know Harrison Ford. It's great acting, and he's actually surprised. See, I'm positive. I
There you
really
go.
like it. The tunnel's red,
Yeah.
and it's very cool.
We like Indiana Jones in dark, tight, dusty places.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what turns us on.
I think that's why he pushes the cobwebs. I think it's a little bit of a callback to Last Crusade, a little bit of that
Mhm.
Yeah.
Raiders where he pushes through the spider webs, and I think there's something of that going on there.
Yeah,
Spider webs, corpses, dirt,
Yeah.
the whole
Mystery.
thing. That's what we like. Yeah.
Do you know what any of these other tiles are, Joey? Like, did they?
Those
did
are
they
the those are the ones they called out.
Okay.
I think there's an Optimus Prime, and there's a Curious George, and there's a Kermit the
Probably is.
Frog,
That's
and a
probably
Doctor
true.
Who. Yeah.
do these aliens look different, or are they exactly the same? Is it like a clone war thing?
Oh, this was the real Clone War.
Oh, yeah.
But no, here's the thing, though. They're not aliens. They're from an alternate universe Earth, I think, right? Like they're interdimensional.
beings.
Well, they're
So-
interdimensional. I don't know if that means that they're from a
That's
different
true. They're not. They could be
Earth.
from a different planet. But if they're from Earth, I'm wondering how they evolved so differently that they look like this.
This is I've the whole time we've been doing the show, all 15 years of us doing the season, I've been sort of defending the alien idea and saying, no, if done right, Indiana Jones versus the Flying Saucer Men, that should be great. That should be totally legit, set in the 50s, rock and roll, let's go. But as we get this room full of aliens and we start to talk about interdimensions, I know I don't think they literally say like anything interdimensional until like the last minute of the movie or something.
Yeah.
But those ideas are there, and the more that sort of comes up and we're faced with like the nuts and bolts of these aliens, I'm like, this is both a little too hard science fiction and also very half-baked of that to work in an Indiana Jones movie. It's starting to...
Did
This
War of
movie's
the
starting to
Worlds-
not work for me, guys.
When did War of the Worlds come out? Was that after this or before this?
Before
Oh,
the Spielberg.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a musical connection to that.
Oh, okay. Because
really?
I was thinking in that
Oh.
one he got it right because you don't know anything about the aliens. It's a scary, menacing threat, and I thought he did that brilliantly. Like he doesn't explain anything.
Well,
Right.
I almost wonder, Tom, if they had just leaned into the 50s flying saucermen, like I think George Lucas kind of wanted originally, which
Yeah.
is kind of weird to think about, it might have worked better.
Yeah.
Because it was
yeah.
so kind of in between that and not really aliens, it got very confusing.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
think this movie suffers from trying to please a lot of different people who have very different ideas about what the movie should be.
Yeah.
And these sort of half-baked aliens are an example of that, I think.
I'm with you though, Joey. I think if they'd leaned into it, I think it could have been pretty good.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Mac, Joey?
You just
Okay.
like you're just going in for the kill everything you say.
Not really. Before we invite you into our club, we got to find out how you feel about Mac.
I know. I
Crystal
feel like
Skull,
Yeah.
I thought I was
Abortion.
Yeah.
oh boy.
Where do you stand on Trump?
chin-ups?
What do you?
Yeah.
I thought I was being invited to the cool kids table, but really it's the bullies.
Put your hand in this bowl of eyeballs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Straight or ribbed.
while we were watching this movie just a couple of nights ago, when we were watching this movie, my youngest daughter, who just recently turned 12, she has never seen this movie all the way through. This was the only Indiana Jones movie she's not seen. And so when I said, hey, I'm going to get to be on the Indiana Jones Minute, and they were so excited for me, and I said, and I'm going to want to watch the movie sometime this weekend so we can, I just have it in my head, and I haven't watched it in a few years. And my daughter was very excited, and she was like, oh boy, I don't care who else doesn't watch with you, Dad, I'm there. And she sat, and I just remember so distinctly when, I think it was right before, it was in the treasure room scene, she turns to me and goes, Dad, is he on Indiana Jones's side? I can't tell. and I was just, wait, sweetheart. And then this thing comes, and I mean, Jerry, I feel like this movie in general, it suffers from too many characters trying to do too many things with them and get creative and clever. And it just loses any sort of, like, you can't follow it, so you don't care. And that's where it suffers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like Mac early in the movie.
Yeah.
But about this point, I've lost interest whether he's good or bad.
You can't follow it, so you don't care. That is like that's the clearest, most precise way I've heard this described. And I think that's really good. Thank you, Joey.
How are you? How's your Mutt watch?
You guys have helped me really appreciate Mutt, I think. I went into this movie and we can get into the history of this movie and stuff later, but I went in thinking I wasn't going to like him. Mm-hmm. And I didn't. But in retrospect, it's not his fault. I think Shia LaBeouf did what he could with the character. I think what they were going for was kind of a cool idea. He's not the worst character in this movie to me, but he's also not great. And it just suffers from this kind of this sense of, well, why do I care about this one and that one? And it's just too much.
Yeah. He hasn't done anything in a while, has he? We haven't really, our Mutt watch has sort of petered out a little bit. Yeah. There hasn't been much to go on. He's eating
popcorn in a theater somewhere, I believe.
You might be right. Cue the GIF.
That's all he does now.
Oh, I want to hear some of your thoughts on the music, though, Joey.
Okay. So one of the things I love about this movie is the fact that it gave us new Indiana Jones stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So this is always Star Wars, cousin that doesn't get as much attention and love, and it never has as much product on the shelf. And so when 2008 came around, I was so excited because there was stuff, Indiana Jones toys, Legos, action figures, all the stuff was coming out, the stuff we missed out when we were kids. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I love the most about this movie is that it gave us a new Indiana Jones score. Mm-hmm. And I know you've talked about it in some of the early minutes, especially when they get down to Peru or South America or where exactly they are, as you've talked about.
Fake Mexico.
There's some questions.
South of America.
South of America.
Questionable choices about the music selection. But say what you will, I think one of the strengths of John Williams evokes emotion, right? So early on, a criticism of John Williams was that he, rips off other classical movie scores or not movie scores, but classical music and romantic and Baroque and stuff. But he does that to evoke an emotion, to evoke a sense of, oh, there's something here, right? Mars, the bringer of war, sounds like Empire Strikes Back because it's threatening and it's menacing, and he uses that and harnesses it. Yeah. And I think with this music, and particularly in this minute, it's so evocative of that 50s sort of mystery and this weirdness, and he almost uses instruments from cheesy sci-fi movies, but it's a little more orchestral. But he uses it to great effect, and I love it. And what I do genuinely love about this minute is that Call of the Skull or Call of the Crystal, I think is the name of the theme, just gets to shine. It's just front and center, and that's what you hear.
Yeah.
And there's a fascinating part about this. So as we were kind of talking about before the minute started, there's a very distinct usage of a tritone. And the tritone is a really interesting piece of music, right, Jerry? When you're playing the drums, you're thinking tritones, right? Right?
All the time. Yeah.
Almost like music.
Yeah.
Almost,
So
yeah.
if you ever play Enter Sandman, you're playing tritones. No, but the tritone is this fascinating little piece of music, right? It was called the devil in music for a long time, way back when. In fact, it was outlawed. You couldn't even play it in churches. You couldn't use it in symphonies. And it was very controversial if you threw a tritone into your song, which is just an interesting little thing. And it's because it's the tone that comes halfway between the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth, right? So if you're into music at all, you know those are very common tones. It's every pop song you ever hear is a 1-4-5 type style. And that tritone, which is where you hear that right? It's that kind of that lift that after that first tonic tone. And he uses that here over and over. You hear it repeated in the strings, in the bass. And then he does another version of that tritone in the melody, that right? That's a little tritone there at the end. And the cool thing is, and Pete, you're going to love this, it's the reverse of the arc theme.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Really?
The arc theme starts on the 5, goes
Wow,
right?
that's awesome.
So if you flip it and you instead of going to the 5, you go back to the 1, it's bum bum bum, right? So it's a very cool thing. And the tritone now, of course, is used all over the place. And as we were talking about, there's some theme songs that you hear it every time you fire up The Simpsons, because it's The Simpsons. The Simpsons. And that's also in West Side Story, which Spielberg just remade. Right. Maria. It's the same thing. Tritone there. In fact, when I was in college studying music, that's how we memorized the tritone for ear training, was singing Maria.
When I was in college studying music, it was the same.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed. It feels
probably closer in age than you think, Jerry.
it feels like, I mean, it feels dissonant. I mean, would you say it sounds dissonant, or at least it leaves a sense of unresolvedness?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And you know, the interesting thing about it, Jerry, that when you hear the tritone by itself, just those two tones played in a harmonic interval, most people kind of cringe. They kind of go, oh, it's not right.
Fix it.
Exactly.
Fix it,
until you go to something else, it just sounds very odd, which is why I think a big reason why it was never found in church music. Most symphonies didn't use it and avoided it. And it's also why songs like Enter Sandman use it heavily, because it's awesome, right?
Yeah.
If you use it right, it sounds really good. And they're doing like tritones with the guitar and power chords and all kinds of stuff.
That's funny. I remember as a kid, like loving Raiders and like listening along to like the soundtrack and everything and the music. I always had if I wasn't listening to the music, I had a really hard time humming the arc theme to myself, because it's weird, because the notes are just plain weird and it's hard to get to them or something.
And John Williams does that kind of stuff all the time, right? He knows how to evoke that emotion, whether it's out of those intervals or a callback to something like Mars, the Bringer of War. He uses it because as a listener, you don't have to think about it. You just, this is ominous. This is something's wrong. Something's off, right? And that's why he's so good. It's also where he gets his biggest criticisms, because he uses things like in Temple of Doom that can be very stereotypical to a culture, right? And you go, well, okay, now we're listening to it today going, maybe he should have made different choices. Yeah. But that's why he did it, is to evoke that sense of, where they were.
Is the minor seventh Star Trek?
Yes,
I remember. Yeah, I remember like the beginning. That's what I remember.
Star, like the original,
the original Star
Trek. The original,
yeah.
Which also has sort of that eerie vibe, right? And we're talking about spacemen and eerie spacemen and that sort of unresolved mystery. That could have been a good choice for this theme.
Well, and I mentioned earlier, there's a tie to War of the Worlds. Now, in doing a little bit of research, and I don't know exactly where it is, but in doing my research, I found a score analysis of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And in it references that during this scene, I think it's a little later after this minute, there's a callback to his War of the Worlds score.
Wow.
There's something in there that and like I said, I couldn't find it, but it's in there according to the score analysis.
Huh.
So. That's cool.
What is your favorite movie score of all time?
Like all time?
Of all time, your favorite movie score.
Well, okay. I have a couple that are kind of constantly on repeat in my playlist, but I have some guilty pleasures too. So I love the score to Braveheart. It's just one of those scores that just gets me every time, and probably because of the age I was at when I first heard it.
Right.
But another similar because of the age, and this is the guilty pleasure, is The Rock. I love Hans Zimmer early stuff. I just eat that. I just eat that up. Very percussive, and of course, it's repeated in multiple other movies. Crimson Tide, Gladiator, Pirates of the Caribbean. You can hear the same themes in all those movies.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Speaking of, not to switch franchises, but we basically are talking about Star Wars anyway. Speaking of not discordant, but notes that aren't quite the music that doesn't quite sit right, and it feels weird, and intentionally so. Does it freak you out as a Star Wars fan in Force Awakens when Rey is fighting Kylo Ren on the Starbase out in the snow in the forest or whatever, and she has this moment, and it's like her Force moment where she realizes she could be a Jedi Knight, and they play the music from when Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru get burned up, and Luke finds them.
yes.
Does that bother you?
Yes.
Am I crazy to be bothered by that? Am I a better Star Wars fan than everybody else who doesn't get bothered by that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
you are.
That's all
Yes,
I
you
wanted
are.
to hear.
No, there's a couple of places where I think the score gets a little lazy in the sequel trilogy, and they use some callbacks that actually, upon further review, feel very inappropriate.
Yeah. Why am I thinking about Luke's dead aunt and uncle at this triumphant moment for Rey?
Why isn't the Force theme played there? I mean, there's all kinds of options.
It's sitting right there, John Williams. It says Force theme right on it.
And I wonder if it's because they wanted to keep that sort of more secret, like, oh no, we don't want to connect it to the Force theme because we want to save.
Is there another? I feel like maybe they were thinking that's the theme for Tatooine.
Because is that why Rey goes back there at the end of the last movie? Is she like that's her theme letter back there?
But then also, isn't
That's
that
a great
music
question.
that the in Star Wars that was played? That's the I can't do it now. It's like the Force or the Arc theme. I can't think of it right now. But isn't that an example of that what's it called? Dies Rey? That sort of like the death dirge that pops up in music all over the world and all over all kinds of
like
music
a
and
Dies
stuff.
Irae?
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it much better than I did.
I
think that's the
don't know.
point of that moment, is that like this is a major climactic moment for Luke Skywalker. He's at this like schism in his life, and I guess Rey is too in that moment. But it's
So
like
it's
the
perfect.
opposite thing. It's not
perfect for
no,
the
it's
scene.
Dumb. I'm thinking about smoldering bodies on a desert wasteland
And
during this
barbecue.
triumphant sword fight. Anyway, we've gone a little astray, but I'm enjoying myself. I've been validated. Thank you, Joey.
You're welcome.
That's why we do the
Glad I
show,
could-
just to validate me and my ideas.
Glad I could help.
You collect Air Jordans?
I have a modest collection of Air Jordans. Yes.
What is the most famous or iconic or expensive Air Jordan there is?
Oh my! Well, expensive is a whole other category. So there's rare Air Jordans that are made specifically for celebrities, right? That are either very rare or one only.
Right.
I don't know if did you see the Super Bowl halftime event where Eminem was performing in Air Jordan 3s, and those were, I believe, a one-off just for him. On the back it says, "Hello, my name is Slim Shady." It had like a little name tag where the Air Jordan logo would be. I mean, it all depends on what kind of a fan you are. So I'm a big fan of the original, the OGs they call them.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, that was when he was in his prime, and he won his championship in '91. So a lot of fans consider the Air Jordan 6s to be one of the top because that's what he won the championship.
Did they
in.
debut in '84? Air Jordans debuted in 1984.
I believe you're right. Yeah, 84, maybe 85.
Was the original one? It was white with red, kind of red on around the ankle. Was that it?
I believe
And the
there
black
were.
swoop.
Yeah.
So there were a couple of the swoosh Swoosh Pete.
Swoosh, sorry.
Damn it, Pete, come on.
Now who's out of the club? Put your
You're off the
face-
hook, Joey.
It's okay. It's okay.
Swoosh.
You can
Swoosh
edit
Pete.
that out, Tom.
Nope. We got to keep Pete in his place.
Well, there were a couple of different colors, and yes, I believe the first ones were predominantly red and white. But the big controversy when he was a rookie was the black toed Air Jordans that were banned by the NBA because it was a prominent color that did not match the uniform, even though there was black. And it's a weird time in fashion and sports.
Sure.
And so every fine he got, Nike paid because their sales were just going through the roof because they were like, I mean, this is advertising you can't buy, right? And so, but I mean, amongst Air Jordan fans, and the biggest release of Air Jordans every year comes in early December, and it's for the Air Jordan 11s. And the Air Jordan 11s were the shoe that he wore when he returned to the NBA. So after his stint playing baseball, and he wore them in Space Jam, and he came back, and those are just the shoe that most fans think are the pinnacle, the best shoe ever. So they sell out in minutes.
Wow.
Well, you were talking about, they make one-offs for celebrities, and I know my wife, like, they had a thing where Nike came to her company, and they got to make semi-custom running shoes.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
But like, could we get a one-off, like a 3-off pair of custom IJM Air Jordans? Like, will they take orders for custom Jordans, or do you have to be a celebrity to get that?
No, you don't have to be a celebrity. In fact, you can go right to Nike.com, and there's a customize option to let you build your own shoe.
Wow.
But is it build your own Air Jordan or just your own shoe?
There are Air Jordans in the options of what shoes you can customize.
Wow.
Do we have to create a new Patreon tier to be able to afford that? Or what do we got to do?
It might cost you a pretty penny, but it's
All
not
right.
bad. You might know a guy. I might be able to help you.
All right.
Dude, I'm all about the
Although
IJM.
I think the custom shoes are sometimes I don't even get a discount on those. But
Really?
we'll see what we can do.
You just
Are
have
custom shoes ever collectible, or since they're not an official release, are they not?
No, not really. In fact, I've gotten a couple of free pairs of returned custom shoes because, well, what are you going to do with them?
Wow.
Somebody didn't like them, or they were the wrong size, or whatever it was, and they just end up in a pile of free. Like, take them.
I'm going to have the tag on the back just say it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I like it. I like it.
There you go. And you have I like that. You have the Air Jordans kind of be like like celestial light blue. Very.
Oh, wait,
very
don't you
light
want
blue.
on the back, don't you want love and then you on the other one? Maybe?
Oh, brilliant!
Maybe on the tongue.
I don't know
It'd have to be
anything
on the
about shoes.
tongue.
I'm just saying. I mean, on the tongue. Yeah. That's not weird.
Just make sure you get left and right correct, Tom, or it's going to be you love, and that's
Right? Hey,
different. I guess that works too.
it's open to interpretation.
Oh, you love. Speaking of you love,
I
this
think
just
it is.
in.
Speaking of open to interpretation,
Let me see. This just in from Professor Christy Porter.
He doesn't want to read it. It's
What is
too
Indiana
offensive.
Jones' favorite shape of pasta? Angel hair, probably.
Oh, maybe. Oh,
Yeah.
Maybe angel hair.
Or,
I think-
and I'm going to be, don't say it, Pete. You're going for it. And no, the beginning of the Temple do, it's not bow tie. He still looks stupid in that.
no, I was just gonna. I was gonna say I think it's just plain spaghetti. Like, I don't think he would have any interest
Yeah.
in anything that's not just the classic plain.
Yeah.
He embraces the mystery of spaghetti. Where is this going to lead? Where does this strand of pasta go?
Yeah,
I just feel,
Where-
I
and what
feel
do I
like
get out of it?
if like somebody puts something down and they go, oh, is that angel hair? And he's like, no, it's Cavatelli. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
I know that because of the,
Pretty sure.
when I was in, yeah. Yeah, the Doge of Florence invited me to the, whatever, yeah. It's a
he's
bunch of
not though.
that
Like,
stuff.
Indiana Jones isn't going to go to a restaurant and be like, "I'll have the cavatappi."
Yeah.
I don't know,
Maybe-
Joey,
maybe
what do
he
you
would,
think?
actually.
I think it's just the straight spaghetti, but just like when he went through the cobwebs, he would just sort of fling it in his face and just eat it.
Yeah.
It's kind of that same shot where it's. I have to there's one nitpick in this minute that I have to address, and I don't know if you
Not a
talked about it
nitpick.
already. Oh, it's a huge, Jerry. It ruins this movie for me.
Oh my God.
So I can get by with bad CGI. The jungle scene just goes off the rails for me. But there's so many problems there. And I've mentioned this on the Listeners Crusade, so this won't be a surprise to anybody. It's his satchel.
Oh my gosh! Wait, I'm looking.
It's slung outside of his jacket.
Right.
And it drives me nuts because I'm a stickler for details and attention. And I feel like you're making a multi-million-dollar movie. When I was watching that behind the scenes, they interviewed the costume designer for Mr. Ford. And I said, what did you see the movie? Nowhere else in the entire original trilogy of Indiana Jones movies does he wear it on the outside of his jacket, except one scene.
Wow.
In the Last Crusade, when he gets stuck on the tank cannon. So for convenience, that's their trick, right? Oh, well,
so is that would you consider that a cheat though?
It's absolutely a cheat.
Okay. But it works, so you have fun with it, and
But sometimes in life, like you do something out of necessity, and then you realize,
oh, that was helpful.
Hey, I've been in a rut my whole life. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, except Pete. The moment he's back on the tank, he's got it under his jacket again.
Yeah.
Well, it takes a while to break out of the habit sometimes.
But it just you know what it reminds me of? It just reminds me of an old guy who didn't care, or at the last minute went, "Oh, my satchel," and threw it over his jacket. I'm like, nobody never wear. And guess what? Here's what really rubs me the wrong way is the behind the scenes pictures that we've seen of Indiana Jones 5. It's on the outside of his jacket.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, okay. Well, does that make the crystal skull being on the outside? Does that make it seem a little like he made a change in the 40s or something? He said, I'm going to start wearing it on the outside, and I'm going to be consistent about it from the 50s on into the 70s or whatever it is.
You can believe whatever you want, Tom.
Right. I'm trying to help. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to try to make things worse again.
Oh yeah.
Is he wearing a belt that's the same color as his pants, or are these Sansa belt pants?
Wow.
And does it have like a zipper on the inside where he hides his money?
I'm wondering if he's wearing the satchel on the outside because he's one of those old curmudgeonly types who's like, I dare you to purse snatch me.
Yeah. I dare you to call it a purse for that matter.
Yeah.
Now, again, going back to Star Wars, didn't Darth Vader change his inner robes went over a part of the chest plate or something that then in later movies it was under the chest plate? Did that freak you out in that sense too, or did you not even notice like I didn't? I just had to read.
No, because I was watching it on VHS and it was terrible quality, and I never knew that when I was a kid and older. But there's something about the Indiana Jones outfit that's so it's right. I mean, look at the fans that go nuts just trying to replicate exactly what he wears down to the belt, right?
Yeah.
And I think if the movie can't get it right of something so obvious, it's just disappointing.
Do you think are there any Indiana Jones cosplayers who just do him on Sala's deck where he's wearing I think a blue shirt and no hat, no jacket, no satchel, no nothing. He's got a light blue shirt and I think maybe his regular khaki pants, but that Indiana Jones, does anybody ever do that?
You mean the one where he's just really exceptionally good looking?
He's the most handsome he's ever been in any movie.
Yeah. And
sunblown.
He laughs. He's like,
just
Belloc.
Yeah.
Belloc.
Yeah.
Tom, every time I wear a button-down shirt, that's what I'm doing.
Okay. You and me both.
Good question.
Well, so what's interesting is speaking of, fans that cosplay and get the details right, I actually saw a video on YouTube a few months ago of a guy who custom built an action figure because his big beef is, if you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, the majority of the movie, at least when Indy's in his full outfit, he's wearing gloves. And no figures that are produced the basic figure are with his gloves. The only one in 2008 when they released the line, the only one with gloves is the one that came with the horse. But the one that came with the horse had the wrong. I mean, he went into so much nerdy detail, had the wrong type of gun, and the holster was too big. So he basically kit bashed an Indiana Jones figure out of all the parts to make it exactly right. A right gun, right holster, right hat, right gloves. And it just it blew me away because I never even thought about that. Most of the time wearing gloves.
Unobservant I am is we watched that movie 1 minute at a time, and spent I don't know how many hundreds of hours talking about it, and I don't think it ever even occurred to me that he was wearing gloves in that movie.
I had no idea he was wearing gloves.
I think I can picture the glove. Like he's punching a German. He's got the gloves on.
I'm
and,
looking it up.
Stuff. Yeah.
Now you're gonna prove me wrong, Jerry.
I
Just
just
like Han Solo's gloves when he's filling up the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, I love those gloves. Those are great gloves.
Yeah.
Gloves make the man. Did we answer Christy Porter's question? Oh yeah, pasta. Yeah. Oodles and noodles. That's the answer. Well, Joey, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
This has been awesome.
This is, thank you for the invite. And it's incredible to be able to yell at you guys and have you respond. Normally, I say things and you don't say anything. And
I sometimes yell at Jerry and Pete, and then I realize I'm not like even on the air with them or anything. I'm just like sitting in my living room, and then and then I have to write them messages, and then they respond, maybe.
And I'm sure people will yell at me, so it's all good.
Yeah. And if you want to yell at Joey, head over to the Indiana Jones Minute and the Listeners Crusade group over on Facebook. He is a frequent contributor there, and he can take it and he can dish it out. So
I'll share a few things I found about tritones that are interesting, and I'd love to talk.
Please.
Anything Indiana Jones, anything music, I'm there. So
I'm sure nobody will have any issue with anything you've said today, or that any of us has said.
I get it all right.
Yeah.
Just keep those devil tones to yourself.
There's only 5 notes, and that's it. And I'm not going to tell you which ones they are.
Father, Son, and the Holy Note.
Awesome. All right. Before we say something we regret, thank you, everyone. And please come join us next time for minute 105. Gosh, 105 of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
So I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Are you doing okay? Are you doing all right?
Jones!
I feel like
it's been a long 3 years, Joey.
It's
been a long 3 years.
I know. Okay, I'm here for you if you need something.
I appreciate that. I'm not going to cry. I am not going to cry, but thank you.
All right.
I think we all feel like that last minute poorly worn satchel at this point.